Okay, we are going to get started because we have a whole lot of information for you tonight. I'm going to kick it off. My name is Lisa Hildebrand. I'm the Executive Director at Rhode Island Association for the Education of Young Children. And we are here tonight to talk about BrightStars. This presentation is for center-based programs and school-age programs. So if you are a family child care provider, please let us know that in the chat and we will provide a separate link. We're doing a family child care session later on this evening and another one in Spanish tomorrow. But this one is specific for centers. So before we get started with all of our information tonight about BrightStars, I first want to introduce to you our child care administrator at DHS, and that is Nicole Cello, and she would like to welcome you as well.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Lisa. I just wanted to take a quick minute and thank each and every one of you for taking some time out of your remarkably busy schedules to learn about all of the great things that the team at BrightStars is working on. The Office of Child Care is committed to really making sure that each and every one of you come out of the pandemic feeling really supported. And please know that we're working tirelessly on the back end to ensure in different ways that you are getting that support. I am personally very excited for BrightStars to share with you all of the great things that they've been working on. And I hope that if you haven't engaged in the system so far, or maybe are a little unsure, that you learn about all these wonderful things and reconsider. And as always, me and Sarah, who's also on this call, she's my better half, are here for any questions or comments that you might have. So thank you all for joining tonight, and I'll turn it back over to BrightStars.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. Just a couple of very short housekeeping things before we dig into the agenda. We are going to try and monitor the chat as closely as we can. There's 52 of you here tonight with us so far, so that's exciting. So we'll do the best we can, and we have several staff members from RIAC and from BrightStars and from the Teach program who are here with us. So we're gonna kind of tag team and see if we can get through some questions as they come in. As Allison mentioned, if you're coming in a little bit late, make sure you drop into the chat who you are and what program you're representing tonight so that we can have just kind of a running list of who's here with us. And we are also recording this session. So if you miss something, if you have to step away or leave early, we're going to post all of these sessions on our website. We'll send out the links to that afterwards. So don't worry if you miss something or if you need to go back and rewind something that we said, because we are going to move a little quickly through this information because there's quite a lot. So as I said before, I'm Lisa Hildebrand. I'm the Executive Director at RIAC. We manage the BrightStars program, which we're talking about tonight. And just quickly, this is the information that we're going to go through. So we're just going to hit really quickly on RIAC's mission and vision, a little bit of the history of BrightStars. Some of you have been with us since the very beginning or even before. And some of you are new to BrightStars and new to the work or new to your program. And so we're going to just do quickly through the history. We're going to talk a little bit about what we did and what we worked on during the COVID pandemic, and then sort of where we are now. So talk about the BrightStars Advisory Committee has gone through kind of a re-envisioning of the work of that committee and addressing the BrightStars standards. We're going to talk about the supportive work that we are taking under our belt here in 2022 that we call learners. Some of you have heard of this. Some of you are even participating, which is super exciting. And then we'll go through some data. And then we're going to try and leave some time at the end for questions. We'll see how we do. And if there are things that we can't get to, or there's so many questions that we need to end because we have another session right after this one, we will send you in the right direction afterwards. And we're going to get started. So I'm going to keep talking. Allison's going to move the slides for us. And as I mentioned before, I am the ED for RIAC. And the agency has a very clear mission and vision that is very closely aligned to NACI. So NACI is the National Organization for the Education of Young Children. Rhode Island AYC is the state affiliate for that national organization. We are a membership organization, so we work on professional development and advocacy for the early childhood field. And there's a lot of information on our website, so I'm not going to go through all of this, but just know that we are, all of our staff is very dedicated to the mission and vision of the agency, and the work that we do for BrightStars and the other work that you see on this slide is very tied to that. So we partner extremely closely with the Department of Human Services and the Department of Education in the state. And because we manage a number of different quality initiatives for the state. In addition to BrightStars, we manage the Teach Early Childhood Workforce Development and Scholarship Program. And underneath that Teach umbrella, we also manage a registered apprenticeship pilot for infant and toddler teachers. We manage an early childhood CTE. CTE is Career and Technical Education. So that's the initiative to create pathways from high school for high school students into the early childhood field. And we manage Learners. So Learners is a coaching framework that is closely tied to BrightStars and the environment rating scales. You're going to learn a little bit more about Learners in a bit. And then the work that we do for the Department of Ed is tied to the RI Pre-K program. So right now we're managing the environment rating scale observations and assessments for RI Pre-K, and we will shortly be taking on some work with the public schools and the preschool classrooms located in public schools to encourage them to participate in more closely in BrightStars and the quality work and quality improvement that they also can be doing. So it's a lot. We have a staff right now of 22, and we are all here to support you in the great work that you do. So let's talk about BrightStars. This is the mission of BrightStars. So BrightStars really has kind of three components. The first component is to assess the program quality in the state. The second component is to help programs improve that quality through quality improvement initiatives, working closely with our quality improvement partners in the work, and also our new work around Learners. And then the third component is to communicate that quality out to families. And so we also are the Child Care Resource and Referral, which means we have a referrals network and support for families. So they can either call us or go to our website or the DHS website where the programs are listed and receive information about the star rating and how to look for quality and what to ask and when they go and visit you, and all that information that is really kind of in one comprehensive place. So that's the work that BrightStars does. Our history of BrightStars, so BrightStars rated its very first program in 2009, which now seems like kind of a long time ago. In 2013, during the period of Race to the Top, participation in BrightStars for programs that are approved to accept the Child Care Assistance Program families became mandatory. So programs who participate in CCAP are required to maintain a BrightStars rating. And then in 2018, the reimbursement for the CCAP program became tied to star rating. And that is a place where we now advocate for rates to be accessible and continue to be addressed through DHS and the state. And that's one of the places that we really are advocating for you to continue to work on those rates. In 2020, we all know what happened, and it really kind of impacted a lot of the work that we were doing. So we had to make a transition, and you'll see in a sec what we did to transition that work to a more supportive role for us to help those that were in childcare programs and early learning programs as you navigated the COVID pandemic with your children and the families that you serve. And we also went through like very, very right into 2020, right before COVID happened. We made a transition to the environment rating scale 3 versions for the ITERs and the ECHRs. So the early childhood and the infant toddler environment rating scale, we transitioned to the 3s right before COVID happened. We had great plans for 2020 and professional development and working with partners and getting more information out to you, but we are still working on that. And so if that's something that you want a little bit more information about, certainly contact your BrightStars navigator and we can give you more details on that. And then in 2022, we worked with DHS to secure funding for some additional professional development, which is actually embedded into your program that is specific for the teachers in your program in a coaching framework. So we're going to talk about that, and that is called Learners in just a sec. So that, like I said, is just like a really surface history of BrightStars. A lot more happened in between all of those years, but that brings us to today and where we are right now. Okay, so quality improvement within BrightStars is really important. And, you know, BrightStars is called a quality rating and improvement system. That I is definitely a full part of the work that we do. So the I is for improvement. And the first thing that we want to do is acknowledge that commitment that you make to the children and the families that you serve every single day, and how grateful we are to that work that you do. Nicole expressed that earlier, and we echo her sentiments, right? We know that work is essential, and it never had been made more apparent than during the COVID pandemic. So while the program assessment, that R piece of the QRIS remains the foundation and the cornerstone of our work, we're very much committed to working closely with DHS to continuing that quality improvement, continuing those quality improvement efforts in your program. And we understand what you're dealing with on an everyday basis and what those realities are. And so that's why we've really developed this supportive program to try and get you back to a place, hopefully, or maybe even further along than you were before the pandemic hit. So these are the supports that we put in place during COVID from the very beginning. So the first thing that we did is we worked really closely with DHS during the early stages, when there was a period where the childcare programs were not able to operate, to create an essential worker, like kind of an emergency childcare situation. So we worked really closely with families. Families were able to call into us. They submitted surveys. They were looking, if they were essential workers and they were looking for childcare, we worked with programs to try and place those families into emergency situations. And we took a lot of phone calls from families who were really like kind of struggling and trying to figure out what to do. The good news is, and we all know that we were able to kind of get through that brief period where you all were closed to a place where you were able to then reopen. So we worked behind the scenes with DHS really closely, and the childcare licensing unit to do your reopen applications. And then at the same time, we worked really closely with them, and some of our staff were able to conduct some of those COVID-19 review visits that we did in partnership with DHS during the time where you were under the emergency regulations. At the same time, we were doing PPE distribution. So many of you probably were able to pick up masks and thermometers from us. We had, coupons for cleaning supplies and a number of other things that we were able to distribute over a period that summer of 2020. And then afterwards, we did some support and some work with our partners around the impact of the pandemic. We worked closely with LISC, probably jogging some people's memories during that time, where there was a relief application, some grants that were available. Right now, what we're doing is the COVID test delivery. So every week we're picking up COVID tests at the warehouse and we are dropping them off in your programs. If anybody needs additional COVID tests, we can point you in the right direction to order those and you receive them. So each week our staff is picking up and dropping off all over the state of those COVID tests so that you can maintain your enrollment, maintain your families being able to still attend and doing either a test to stay or monitor to stay. And then working with learners. So that's the supportive work that we are doing around the environment rating scale and your learning environment. Both right now, the learners work is specifically for centers and for family childcare providers. The platform doesn't yet exist for school age programs. We are keeping our fingers crossed that maybe we'll get to that point. It is a partnership that we do with the Environment Rating Scale Institute and also Brana, who has the contract for the database for the learners. So we will continue to kind of work with them to see if they have that available, but we'll talk about some school age supports in a sec. Because you're not actually able, and we're going to talk about it now, because you're not actually able to use the learners platform just yet. So for school age programs, I want you to know that we continue to maintain relationships with you. We definitely want you to still continue to work with us, just in a little bit of a different way. So the first way is we can continue to work with you around SAKERS. So for a school age program that is interested in a 3-star or higher, you also need an environment rating scale observation. And for school age programs, it's called the SAKERS. And so we can offer some close quality improvement supports around the SAKERS, conversations about the SAKERS, review of your data, and also some training for your staff on site if that is something that you're interested in. So make sure you let your navigator know, or we're going to drop some contact emails into the chat in just a bit so that you know who to get back in touch with. And then, like I said, in the future, we're hoping that something might happen with learners, and if not, maybe there's a place where we could create some aligned professional development similar to what we're doing with the learners platform. So more to come on that, so stay tuned. Here are our current BrightStars participation numbers by star rating. So these are all the programs that participate in BrightStars. So just as a reminder, we work with center-based childcare programs. We work with a large number of family childcare programs. And then there are also our school age programs, and there are a number of public schools or preschools located in the public schools that are also rated. And so this is where our percentages come out right now currently. We didn't put a total in there, but I think it's somewhere around 730 programs participating. Okay, so I'm gonna pass the baton on now to Allison so that I can stop talking and you can hear somebody else talk. She's going to talk to you about the BrightStars Advisory Committee work that we do.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you. And thanks for entertaining our idea of really teasing out all the work we've been doing and how far we've come since the inception of BrightStars. I thought it would be really important to talk about because it's not that we disappeared for these weird COVID years. It's just that, you know, we have been trying to be innovative and to redesign our supports and to really pinch hit wherever the state needs us so that you are getting the resources you need. So right now we'll be talking about the BrightStars Advisory Committee, which, like Lisa said, is something that we have reinvigorated since the COVID-19 pandemic. We restarted the committee in 2021. So here are the goals. First, we want to introduce an overall governance framework for Rhode Island AUIC to solicit and review proposals to modify and strengthen our QRAS framework, and that is true for all settings. The committee accepts proposals for centers, family childcare providers, school age programs, and public schools. So the second goal would be to maintain an effective and evidence-informed framework, which, hold on, my notes are behind all of you, for measuring quality in Rhode Island's mixed delivery early childhood system, leveraging child and classroom level outcomes related to program growth and quality improvement. Before we get into this, I guess I'll get a little bit into the why, and you can also take a look at the goals. We really do recognize kind of the interesting crossroads that we sit at Rhode Island AEYC, and that we are advocating for increased investments in the workforce while also supporting you and providing and measuring quality of where you're at now. We realize that this is like a tug of war, so we really wanted a community-based governance framework that solicits input from the community, so we are not making decisions that impact your funding in a vacuum. So now we'll just review who the community members are. So first of all, there is a BrightStars steering committee, and we'll get into what those mean in a future slide. That includes the governor's office, the Department of Human Services, the Department of Education, and us internally at Rhode Island AEYC. The committee itself includes community-based stakeholders and childcare providers. So we tried to invite participants from all settings. We have family childcare providers on the board, Montessori programs are part of the committee, Head Start providers, and as far as community stakeholders go, this includes institutions of higher ed, other advocacy agencies, and just partners that are supporting you in other parts of the state. And lastly, shout out to Sarah. She is our DHS Program Services Officer. I don't know if she wants to wave to you if you can see her. So she is really the one guiding this work and leading and helping me and Lisa and the rest of the team as these proposals come in, and we really make sure that they can be vetted and they're going to work. And we really take we read every single one and we try to find some kind of answer. And then we really work with the provider to make sure that, you know, it's easy to implement. How we will measure our success, obviously, it would be a higher percentage of higher rated programs, growth and our participation in quality improvement systems. And then we would like to increase the percent of vulnerable youth enrolled in high quality learning environments. So we take special consideration for the conditions in high CCAP programs and how we can kind of modify our standards to better support them and make sure that the children that need high quality care the most are able to access it. We obviously also want to diversify our participation in the QRIS. We hope that by soliciting proposals from both BrightStars rated programs and those that have a reason that they're not applying, or there's like a policy that's kind of sticking in their mind as something that a reason why they don't want to join. We do want them to have a voice, and we'd like them to come to the table so that we can find a scenario where you were able to join us and be supportive and join the quality improvement journey. Lastly, we obviously want to see that these changes are tied to child outcomes. We are hoping that as we get into more classrooms, because people are accessing higher ratings, we're able to conduct more environment rating scale observations, and this will, you know, lead us to getting more child data and having more information on what's going on in childcare programs and better mapping out supports for you. Okay, some additional notes, and this is why I mentioned the possibility that you would be working with BrightStar staff on your proposal after you submit it, is that first and foremost, it obviously needs to be legal to implement. So they do need to adhere to CCDF federal regulations, kind of just keeping in line with federal law, obviously. And the second one is that they do need to reflect best practice and leverage key findings from research. So research means a lot of things. We're policy papers, reports from, you know, national research agencies, but really that's something that we can help you find and we can help you explore once you kind of approach us with an idea. But the end goal being that we're at least matching some national trends, we're at least using best practice still. So that's kind of why we have these couple of steps in the beginning to kind of make sure we get the proposals in the right place. So basically, obviously, the whole reason that this exists is that you, an early childhood educator, may think, hey, I do not like this part of the BrightStars standards. It is impossible to meet. I think it should change. Cool. This is the pathway for you. This is what the BrightStars Advisory Committee is for. There is a link here in the PowerPoint, and we will also obviously follow up with participants so they have the link, but it is available on our website. So it's at the brightstars.org under the About BrightStars tab. There is an advisory committee page. On that page is a proposal form. It's available in English and in Spanish, and it's a fillable PDF. So give me as much as you can in this proposal, state the problem, state how it aligns to BrightStars, and we'll work with you to kind of get it into a place where we can propose it to the committee. And this is how that process is mapped out. So obviously the first thing you're going to do is decide you think a change will be made, download your form, fill out your form, etc. We ask that you submit those proposals electronically to info@rhode-island-auyc.org. If that is inaccessible to you or not possible, just give our office a call and we'll make it work. So second, we do a little internal review as BrightStar staff, and we bring that to DHS to kind of go through those additional requirements of like, can we do this? Is it based in best practice? Will this be able to be changed, in regulations or what have you? So we just kind of need to check those, is this possible boxes before that? And in this step, we, mostly me, are kind of relaying the information back and forth and keeping you posted about the process. So the third step is that these proposals that meet conditional approval, and I say conditional in that they're meeting those guidelines of being legal and aligned to best practice. Nothing, we're not kind of throwing them out willy-nilly as we feel like it. They're more kind of meeting that initial threshold. They're further developed, and obviously we need to think through the operationalizing them. Let's say your proposal will open up the door for more programs to be able to apply for 3 stars. That means more ERS observations. So we kind of need to map that out in our capacities to make sure that it's possible. And then from there, we propose our final draft of your proposal to the advisory committee. We meet quarterly, and votes are taken live by committee members that are present, and then majority rule, then it moves on to the steering committee. Yes, which was that first group that we mentioned, which includes DHS, RIDE, RIAC, I already forgot the last one, but the governor's office. And then your collective advisory committee vote counts as one steering committee vote, and then the state agencies and the governor's office kind of have the final say in the implementation. And step 6, providers are notified of any changes via email and via snail mail. So we did have, is that my next slide? Yes, we did have 2 proposals come through that were approved by the committee and the steering committee, and you were notified of them effective March 1st, 2022. So I won't go over them in detail. Like I said, you have received some communications about this. It's also right in front of you. We'll also share the slides, but in short, we temporarily cut the number of the percentage of required teachers to meet the high quality standards. We cut it from 75 to 50% in acknowledgement of the staffing crisis and high turnover rates. This is a little experimental, and you can see on the slide, the change will be through the end of 2024. And at that point, we will review some impact data and see really how it plays out. A lot of things to be looking for is, does that align with scores that we see on the ERS? Is that kind of matching up? Are the people that meet that increase on paper kind of also displaying those high quality practices in their classrooms? More on that in 2024. The second requirement is related to program leadership. And this was a proposal that was received from a teaching team and an admin team that were very supportive of each other, very fluid, had a great working relationship, so that these roles were kind of really shared, and we wanted there to be an opportunity for maybe your ed coordinator has a master's degree in early childhood, and she is really handling all of the things related to early childhood that you would learn in an undergrad course. So we went from requiring both the admin and the ed coordinator to meet these requirements in standard 5 to either or. Please note that both of these modifications in teacher and program leadership qualifications do not affect RILES, so those percentages have not changed. Lastly, and honestly, this is so far already a really great policy as it's being implemented, is that instead of scheduling your BrightStars site visit window when your application is reviewed and complete. We schedule the window upon the application's receipt. So this is really opening up a lot more opportunity to have ERS observations completed, because previously we would review an application, it may not have met the approval for the star rating on paper, so then we did not do an ERS observation. This really opens up the opportunity for people to kind of have that feedback on your learning environment while also having additional feedback, on the other 9 standards. Okay. And that's it on the advisory committee. Any more information about that can be found on our website, like I said, in the About Us section. And now I'm going to transition it over to Hannah.
Thanks, Allison. Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah DeConti. I'm the manager of quality improvement over here at BrightStars. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight, see some familiar faces. I'm also really excited to share with you one of our newest quality improvement initiatives called Learners. So Learners is a coaching framework created by the Brana Group. So they're a company that develops software based on the tools of the ERS. So the ITERs, the ECHRs, the FICRs, and the SACRs. So you'll notice that the ERS in Learners is capitalized, which stands for the Environment Rating Scale that we use here to observe within early childhood programs and to provide assessments. Next slide. So Learners at BrightStars is a model that acts in a few different ways. The main goal is to educate and support early childhood teachers while they work in classrooms with our youngest learners. So through online modules, teachers will create goals based on items and indicators of quality in the ERS tool. In conjunction with this, they'll get coaching from our staff of navigators to plan their coursework, create goals, implement them in the classrooms, and reflect on their progress. On each next slide, I'm going to go into a little further detail on those points, but if you have any questions, you can just pop them into the chat. So who is Learners for? So it's for programs who are looking to increase their score, but don't know what the ERS is looking for. With the 3 tool, it's a little bit different. The process looks different from the way it was with the R. So this could be a good introductory for programs to learn more about the ERS 3rd edition. It's for programs who maybe need supplementary materials to meet their quality improvement goals. So we provide materials based on what we see the need is within the classroom. If they need help aligning their ideas to the ERS, sorry, my little people are in that way, we can help them with that. And also to help make positive changes within the classroom, supporting the teacher, supporting the director, the program as a whole. We work with you guys to get there. Next. So how does it work? So it's a professional development program that's really easy to use, super user-friendly. They're interactive modules with dragging and clicking and games and music and graphics. They're engaging and interactive, so they line up with the items and the subscales of the ERS that you're working on. With the assessments, we'll get to see, where you're landing in certain items and help you work through those modules together with your navigator. So through that online portal, they create goals, they make a journal, they can save pictures that they're interested in trying out in their classroom and implement them while they're working with the children. So through the modules, they can check their knowledge, they can see real examples, they take inspirational photos and post them of real life classrooms functioning within programs around the country. They can read about key information to be successful, what it sounds like, try this example, here's what language and dramatic play sounds like, set achievable goals that they work with their navigator to define and kind of make tangible. So navigators will support this through creating small immediate changes for their impact within the classroom. So why should you participate? Along with the navigator coaching, they work alongside their peer learning sessions to work with other teachers assigned to their cohort to share their goals based on what module they're working on. So when there's a peer learning session about block area, we have teachers from all across the state asking questions about how do you get your toddlers engaged with blocks? This is what I try in my center. So it's a great collaborative effort with teachers across the state. The professional development is approved by the Center for Early Learning Professionals. They're also compensated for their time, and materials are given to classrooms for free. So a little bit more about participation benefits. So the program can go from 6 months to a year to help them understand the ERS and how it works within a classroom. So they'll be able to share and collaborate with their navigator and their peer learning group, ask questions. We go and do on-site coaching visits. So we'll come to your classroom and sit on the floor and help you rearrange your block area. It's really hands-on and interactive, which is one of my favorite benefits of it. In terms of reimbursement and payment, so each teacher enrolled in Learners receives $15 an hour for 10 hours a month. So that comes out to $150 a month. So while it's 10 hours, 8 hours are just implementation. So that's teachers working in the classrooms that they're already in. 1 hour a month is for the peer learning session, which is held over Zoom overnight, usually on a Tuesday. And then the 1 hour to watch the module. So within 1 month, 1 year of Learners, that's $1,800. So I'll hand it over to my friend Erin. She's one of our Learners BrightStars navigators. So she works really closely with programs and she works really closely with learners. So she'll be able to tell you more about their observations.
Thanks, Hannah. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin, and I'm thrilled to be working with learners with BrightStars. We are so proud of this program. And one of the questions you may be asking is, how do we get the information for learners? How do we know what programs are going to be working on within their cohort? And how do we identify areas of opportunity for the participants of the program? We do this by partnering really closely with assessment. It is a major benefit for programs to have the opportunity to get direct information from the assessment team without this being directly tied to your star rating. So we do an initial pre-assessment for the learners programs that are chosen. That pre-assessment helps us guide the team to get information about the areas of opportunity that are going to have the most impact on the classroom environment. So when we identify these areas of opportunity, we can then choose modules for the length of that cohort to help them focus on those areas that are most important to the program and will have the greatest benefit to the classroom environment. Halfway through, if they're doing 1 full year of learners, assessment will go out again to do this midpoint assessment of the 6 modules we've been working on. So it's a focused, dedicated assessment to help us see, have these supports directly related to an increase and improvements in those areas of the classroom, or do we need to provide more support? Do they still need materials? Are there areas that we might have, we could give a little more information to, or we could spend a little more time in coaching on? That information then helps us guide the next 6 months, if they're continuing for the full year, to where we do the post assessment, which will give us data from your teacher's dedicated year of focus on the ERS in their classroom to see the changes they've made, some mini, some major, but all of which are going to reflect your program's dedication to their ERS in their room. So assessment works closely with the navigators who are there to serve the program and the students that you are in turn serving yourselves. My favorite part of learners, and I think the most major benefit of learners, is the opportunity to do coaching. We have the privilege as navigators working with assessment to spend time in a variety of ways with the individual participants. So this can be through phone, email, in-person coaching, Zoom. We get information from the modules that they complete in the learners portal to let us know what they're working on. So what goal have they chosen after watching the module, and how are they going to implement that in the classroom? A lot of the goals we've seen have been related to the changing guidance related to the pandemic. As we reintroduce soft goods, as we make spaces available to be shared and materials to be accessed by students in the classroom, how are programs staying on top of this information, and how can we support them as they begin to feel more comfortable about bringing these areas of materials back into the classroom? We do get materials that we are happy to bring out and support the classroom. Participants are making wish lists about materials they would love to see in their room. And some of the programs also have a benefit of a budget, a class wish list. And our teachers are asking for help. They're saying, I would love to see this. Do you think this would be better in this area? Do I have enough materials related to blocks and math and literacy? And we can give suggestions and recommendations for that as well. My favorite thing about learners is that we're seeing a wide range of talents and individual expertise, creativity, educational background, passion, diversity. We're seeing amazing talents of the providers, and we encourage them through coaching to make the space special for them, to match the mission and vision and values of their program and the needs of their students. It is a great privilege for us to see the huge range of talents that our participants have to offer. And we want to help them identify ways they can make their room the most rich experience they can for students. And then we can model by being in the environment how to increase the functionality of the space to improve quality. We've had teachers and participants say, I feel like it could use a little more space here, or, oh, my students really love science, or they're incredibly into art. How can I make this space more functional? And we can see it happen, and they can trial and error that with an assessor and with their navigator. And the excellent side effect of all of this is that we're seeing providers' confidence grow. They are taking agency in their own classroom. Veronica mentioned in the chat that her team is really enjoying learners, and we're hearing programs say, my teachers have something that they can care about. It's something to focus on, that despite the busyness and the wildness of staffing and enrollment and day-to-day and changes with the pandemic, they're becoming more confident that they know the areas of strength in their classroom. We get this assessment and they can see where their areas of strength are, and they have a chance to take mini manageable bites to improve the quality of the areas that we see as opportunity for growth. And we can help them understand the impact of the changes that they're making, and they can decide how that will benefit their room and if it's important to them in a way that best fits their students. Who is eligible for learners? We are trying as best we can to be flexible with the needs of our programs. So programs must meet all DHS and CCLU regulations. Programs that are rated 1-star, who are committed to an increase of at least up to a 3-star, that is ideal for us. We would love to partner with you on that growth. Programs who are rated 2 and 3 stars have already made great gains and successes for 1, 2, and 3. And now we want to see where they can go and where they can grow. And if they're committed to quality improvement, we would love to work with them also. And we have 4- and 5-star programs who we are considering for learners based on their, if they demonstrate an inability to maintain that quality rating. Some of our 4- and 5-star programs who've experienced staffing changes, even some programs that feel they need a refresher to maintain the quality that they've demonstrated so far, we would love to consider them for learners as well. Currently in learners, we have 7 family child care providers, 42 lead teachers, and 4 teachers assistants and co-teachers with those teams. And this is from March of 2022 was our first cohort. We're prioritizing the enrollment of CCAP providers to ensure that the high quality is there where students need it the most. It really is empowering for us to see that of the learners programs we have enrolled, 335 CCAP children are attending those programs. That means that all these improvements that their participants are making, even their confidence being increased in their involvement and dedication, 335 students are being impacted by that drive and motivation to make these changes and improvements in their classroom. And that's really powerful for us. If you're interested and you'd like to apply, I hope you will. BrightStars participating programs may already have been outreached by their navigator. You also can reach out to your navigator or email info@ryac.org. If you're not participating yet, you can email learners@ryac.org, and we are happy to get you some more information. Generally, we start with a re-engagement meeting. So 15 minutes or so to identify your goals and what's, what you're looking for with your program and what supports we can offer. And then if you feel that Learners is a great fit for you, we would love to have you apply. Thank you. Lisa put in the chat info and Learners, also Learners info can be lumped into that email as well.
Erin,
Thanks,
the
Lisa.
chat is hopping with people that,
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's great. I'm seeing it
seeing
now.
that are wanting to participate after your really great sales pitch.
Well, although we don't get a kickback, we're not making commission. I hope that you can tell how important this is and how proud we are of this program. And we couldn't be prouder when we hear things like our program loves it. We're really enjoying it. This was an amazing refresher. The new materials are really exciting and engaging for the students. I'm thrilled that you're interested. And I saw some of the programs that I work with in there, and I'll reach out to you and we can hopefully get you enrolled and get you some more information about Learners.
Thanks, Erin.
Thanks, Allison.
Going to jump back to Lisa to moderate some Q&A.
Yeah, so we did a really great job. I'm actually kind of surprised because we had a lot of information to present to you in just a kind of a real condensed amount of time. But this does leave us plenty of time for some questions or comments. We can do it via chat. You can certainly unmute yourself. We can have a conversation. There's still 52 of us here. So it's a little tricky if you all have questions, but we'll see how it goes. I did also want to mention, and I think I did at the beginning, that we have quite a few of our RIAC staff with us tonight. So wave your hands if you are RIAC staff so you can say hi. And if you have any questions, let us know, because we're here, and this is your opportunity to get us, one-on-one. We'd love to answer them if anybody wants to start.
I'm seeing some come directly to me in the chat. It must be
okay.
okay, because they're not going to everybody. Okay, so the first one is the one that I accidentally entered to everybody. But we have Lisa here. We have maybe Nicole still here. I'm not sure.
I think Nicole's still here.
Someone had just asked to further suss out the relationship between BrightStars and DHS.
The funding relationship or beyond that? So DHS is the funder. DHS is, the legislation requires DHS to manage a QRIS, and it is contracted with Rhode Island AYC. But beyond that, we have an amazing relationship with DHS. The foundation of BrightStars is licensing. And so we have to work really closely just from the very beginning stage when a program is interested in participating to make sure that they are meeting the child care licensing unit regulations and, are managing those regulations and sharing with us monitoring reports and things like that. But, like I said, beyond that, Nicole's having some issues with her sound. We work really closely with them. So we have an open line of communication with both Nicole and Sarah. We work with the rest of the DHS team also. So the folks that are managing the CCAP program and those that are involved in the other quality initiatives. We work closely with the whole team at DHS. And I think I can confidently say that we've never had a better relationship with licensing than we do right now. And so that you are seeing that, I think, in the work that we can do with childcare programs. You're seeing that in the growth of BrightStars and the growth of those supportive quality improvement initiatives. And Nicole says she agrees with everything.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That was me.
Okay, great. I hope that answered your question.
It did. Someone
Okay, good.
asked me and I'm like, they're connected, but I didn't know
Yes.
the specifics. Thank you.
Okay,
Allison,
the only
others?
other question that was hiding in the chat was an eligibility question for learners, but I think one of Erin's slides covered it, and otherwise anyone can go off mute or drop another chat. We did make great time.
So Erin did mention here, and it is a good point, that we kind of have an ongoing recruitment cycle for learners, but because we're operating on a cohort model, we only can enroll a certain number of teachers and programs at a time. And we also have, not an unlimited capacity to be able to support everybody, although we wish we could. So what we're doing instead is, as programs come to us, we're forming those cohorts as we go. And so it looks like there's another cohort that is starting in November. I think we're going to take a little break in December because of the holidays. It's not necessarily a great time to start a cohort, and then we'll start again in January. So those of you who are not yet participating, who are interested in that, definitely let us know about your timing too, right? Like we can work with you, because you do have to have a real commitment from the teachers who you're interested in enrolling in learners. We've seen that a number of times where it's tricky for them. Like, and we know what these teachers are working with in their own daily lives and in your programs. And it is, it's a time commitment. It's a commitment to doing the work. And so we want you to make sure also that your teachers are ready to do that work. But we can work with you.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
And
Hi,
everybody.
Veronica.
Hi. How
Hi,
are you?
Veronica.
Hi. I just wanted to share that how, our staff is really enjoying learners. It's really made a difference in their daily routines, and they're always wanting to improve an area. So we do see the changes, and we see the difference, and we see how excited they are. And also about the TEACH program, we also have teachers that are enrolled in the TEACH program, and they're really, one just graduated recently. One is, working towards her last semester for her associates. So we do see the difference, and in our staff, it's lucky enough to take advantage of all these things. So we do appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Thanks, Veronica. That's great. I love the plug for TEACH, and I think Marinelle is here, and some of our TEACH staff is here too. And this, obviously this is not a TEACH session, it's a BrightStar session, but I do want to mention that TEACH has received an increase in funding with the governor's budget for this fiscal year. And so we will be opening some wider TEACH recruitment. So keep that in mind when you're looking across the board at all of your quality initiatives. We are very interested in recruiting new scholars for the TEACH program. We enroll TEACH scholars for CDA. So we work really closely with CCRI on that. Also for associates and bachelor's degrees at CCRI, RIC, and URI. URI is a new participant with TEACH. So if you have some teachers who are more interested in receiving a degree from URI, they can now access that. And we work with Rhode Island College really closely on their infant toddler certificate program. That's a bilingual cohort certificate program. So there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of pathways and options right now for folks to access higher ed. And so if you're really interested in that, we can get you more information on that too. And I can drop Marinelle's email into the chat also, because she would love to talk to you and your teachers and your teacher assistants too, any of your staff. Oh, Allison, there's a question there. Do you want to read that out?
Yes. I'm assuming you mean learners, whoever you are, Sarah. Would this be available to 4 and 5-star programs at some point? I think our teachers would be interested in coaching for their professional growth, regardless of our rating. Love to hear it. Just curious if there was long-term consideration for this.
So I would definitely say, let us know if you're interested, because there is some potential opportunity for 4 and 5-star programs, mostly around being able to maintain that level of quality. And also if you have some new teaching staff in your program, especially if you've got new lead teachers, and they are inexperienced in the ERS. We and DHS is also really interested in programs being able to maintain those higher levels of quality. So we can work through that with you, and we would love to have some conversations with you about that. Anything else coming through? Does anybody else want to unmute yourself? Okay. All right. So just a recap for those of you who joined us a little bit later. We did record this session, so we will post it and the slides on our website. We'll probably send out a notice to you all just so that you know it's where it is, that it's there, and how to locate it on our website. But give us a day or two, because we've got a bunch of these sessions all back to back. And we'll post all the information and the recording so you can go back and watch it. Your best contact is your BrightStars navigator if you are a rated program. If you don't know who your navigator is, reach out to that info line, give us a call, email any of us that you have an email address for. All of our email addresses are listed on our website. Any one of us can help you and point you in the right direction and answer any of the questions that you might have, or, like I said, point you to the person who can support you. We're super excited about all of this work, and I'm really happy that we have so many people who are here with us on, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and what I'm sure is a very busy week for you. We know that they all are. So with that, I think we will conclude and say thanks again. And we look forward to working with you all in the future. Okay, thanks everybody.
Bye, everyone. And obviously, since we're so early, we can hang out for a sec, but I am going to stop the recording.
Yeah.